Most black women, African women, who only want to date white men, any white man. It doesn't matter who they are, where they're coming from. Actually, they're not even interested in knowing who they are, where they're coming from. Most of those women have a very little sense of self-love and self-worth. Let me explain. Because most of the time when we talk about these things, we sometimes focus solely in white men. But the problem is that for something to be that recurrence, for something to be that prominent, there has to be somebody who is enforcing it. Because obviously, this won't be going on this long if there were not that many women out there who are ready to accept to take any type of craziness just because they want to be with white man and just because they want to go abroad. And this didn't start today. Somebody like me having my family, my aunties, who were dating white men in the 70s, 60s. Obviously, I was not born, but I was born into people who were almost exclusively dating only white men. Why am I saying this? And that's why it's very difficult actually to get them to understand where you're coming from. Obviously, evil is everywhere. Evil is everywhere, but it get very dangerous when you actually go and put yourself where most likely 90% of the people that you're going to be talking to on those websites represent that evil. And when some people are just so ready, so ready that there's nothing you can tell them. They will not listen to you. They will not listen to you. They made up their mind. That's what they want. And that's what they believe is the best thing for them. And that's what they will go for, no matter what. And why is that? Because, that's what they tell you, that representation is very important. Because even if you keep aside what we went through as black people, as African people, when you see the way that the West is represented in Africa, is completely different of the way that Africa is represented in the West. So with that, in Africa in general, people think that Europe is paradise. People think that Europe, all men in Europe are so romantic, are so nice, are so loving, that there's no bad thing happening in the West. So somebody who have their mind set up like this, there's nothing that you can tell them that will make them think and say that, okay, maybe you're right, or I will think about it. They will tell you you're crazy. They will tell you that you are a mean person. You don't want them to go and enjoy the same thing that you're enjoying. So you're telling them that it's bad because you're a bad person. They cannot wrap their mind around what you're telling them, And unfortunately, sometimes they have to go through that hell for them to understand. And sometimes it's too late. It's a bit like people who go through the desert to go to come to Europe, to go to Europe or anywhere, go through the forest to go to America and all those things. Some people, those two categories of people and those people, some people are really coming from a place where everything has been so hard for them that the only way out is them going somewhere else to go and look for a better life. On the other side, you have people who are just, what's the name? I can't count the name. They're not doing it because they're desperate. They're not doing it because they're destitute. They're not doing it because they're coming from somewhere where they have been suffering so bad. They're doing it because they want to do like everybody else. They're doing it because they believe that Europe is the West is the best place in the world. That if you have not reached there, you have not done anything in your life. Many people leave decent job in Africa just to come to the West. Decent job, and they will come here, start doing cleaning job. When somebody in Africa, they were a lawyer. When somebody in Africa, they were a doctor. When somebody in Africa, they were an engineer, but they will come here and start doing cleaning and all those things. That got nothing to do with what they were doing in Africa. Some of them will still gonna be justifying and say, it's all right. Some of them will be regretting it, but sometimes it's too late. Because when you come here, you enter. Most of the time you enter, you don't have documents. So you cannot just get up like this and say, I'm going back home. Because by the time you realize the reality of things, let's say even if you have 3 months like visa or something like that, the visa have run out. If you have come already illegally, so there's nothing that you can do. You just have to push and go with it. You see? So it's like that. Some people go through the desert with $1 million in their pocket. The million will be, for example, if it's 2 million or 3 million, it can be the equivalent of $3,000. In Africa, with $3,000, you can start a decent business. You can start a decent business. So you can see that it's not because things are so that bad. Because somebody will say that they're giving themselves 2 years to save $2,000, the equivalent of $2,000, $3,000, so they can go to the desert again to go to the west. Why don't you save that money and start a business? But they don't want that. So you can tell them whatever you want to tell them, and they would actually tell you that they are ready to go through anything, even if they have to die. But what they don't understand that, unless you have go through something, that's when you're going to be able to know what it's like. But when you have never gone through certain thing in life, you cannot even get closer to imagine how hard it can be. Somebody who born in Africa, let's take my country, I'm coming from Cameroon. Cameroon, we have food for everybody. People are not dying of hunger in Cameroon. So somebody who have always been eating, even if they're not eating 3 times a day, but they have always been eating. They will drink water, one will drink water. Things are difficult, but they still live. A person like that who is telling you that they are ready to go through any hell just to come to they have no idea what true hell look like. They have no idea what true hell feel like. We are not in Cameroon in general is a tropical climate. So there's no desert. There's no, even when it get hot, you know that you can walk under a tree and sit there. You know that you can go inside the house. But now you're gonna be in the desert where there's no house, there's nothing in it's hot like hell. You cannot imagine how hard it can be. But that same person who cannot imagine that will tell you that they are ready to face anything. So it's similar like those women who are ready to do anything. They will meet anyone. It doesn't matter their age. It doesn't matter how bad it looks. They will still tell you that they are ready to go all the way because they want to come to Europe. But they have no idea what evil can look like. Because a lot of things that they're talking about here, a lot of things that are like normal occurrence here in Europe, a lot of people in Africa don't experience that, don't do that. There's certain things in Africa that automatically are taboo. People don't do. So like a young girl who is leaving their village to say that I want to go to Europe, I'm ready to take anything. And who know that from where they're coming from is a taboo. Even removing the taboo themselves, they will never bring themselves or having some type of sexual act. And then they will get with somebody who will impose that on them, telling them that if you don't allow me to do it, I will call the immigration and I will tell them that you came here just for the paper. And the person found themselves living that kind of hell day in, day out, subjecting themselves to that kind of hell day in, day out. It's only then that they will realize what hell really look like. Before that, they didn't know what it looked like. And sometimes they will keep quiet. They will go through it. They will say, okay, they will wait until they get the document. Or sometimes it can turn very, very bad where there's a tragedy and all those things. But somebody like that who, I don't know, hold her heart and went through that hell for 2 years, 3 years until they got the document. When that some person go back home, she's not going to go and tell them the truth. She will go there, she will dress, now even if she has to go and borrow money, she will buy expensive clothes and pay expensive this to go and show off. She will not tell them exactly what is going on. The problem is that everybody around her, all the young girl around her, they will believe that that's the key, that's the way. Look at her. She just went 3 years ago. Look at the way she look. Me too, I want to go. So how are you going to tell that person that that's not the way? How? It's impossible. It is. It's impossible. You just have to let them go if they enter, and then they will face it themselves. They will experience it themselves, because they will never listen to you. They will never listen to you. That's why you see that lady.